Dr. Lisa Carter stood at the large window of the research ship Endeavour and watched the alien vessel approach through space. The ship looked nothing like human ships, with its smooth, curved surface that seemed to flow like water frozen in time. She felt her heart beat faster as she thought about what was coming next. Today would change everything for both humans and aliens. Captain Jake Morrison walked up beside her and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. His wife Amy stood on his other side and reached out to hold his free hand. Lisa watched this simple gesture and wondered what the aliens would think of such casual touching between humans. She had read all the reports about the Zephyrian people, but seeing them in person would be different. The alien ship docked with a soft sound that vibrated through the metal floors. Lisa walked toward the docking bay with the other crew members. She carried her data pad and tried to remember everything she had learned about Zephyrian culture. They were logical people who made decisions based on facts, not feelings. They lived much longer than humans and only had children once every 7 years through a medical process that involved no physical contact between partners. The airlock opened with a hiss, and Lisa got her first look at a real Zephyrian. Ambassador Caravel stepped through the doorway, followed by 2 other aliens. Lisa had to stop herself from staring. The alien was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly under the ship lights. Her face was beautiful in a way that seemed almost perfect, like a statue carved by a master artist. Her eyes were large and dark blue, and they moved across the human faces with what looked like scientific interest. Captain Morrison stepped forward and smiled. He held out his hand for a handshake, but Caravel just looked at it without moving. Lisa remembered that Zephyrians did not touch each other as a greeting. The captain lowered his hand and nodded instead. "Welcome to the Endeavour, Ambassador Caravel. I am Captain Jake Morrison, and this is my science team." Caravel spoke in perfect English, though her voice had a musical quality that made every word sound like part of a song. "Thank you, Captain Morrison. I am here to learn about human culture, so that our peoples can work together. This is my research assistant Velnara and my cultural observer Zektal." Lisa noticed that all 3 aliens stood perfectly straight with their hands at their sides. They did not look around with curiosity like humans would. They did not smile or show any expression on their faces. It was like looking at very beautiful robots that could talk. The group walked through the ship corridors toward the dining hall, where they had prepared a welcome meal. Lisa walked next to Caravel and tried to make conversation. "How was your journey from your homeworld?" "It took the expected amount of time, and we experienced no problems with our ship systems," Caravel answered without looking at Lisa. Her eyes were focused straight ahead as she walked. Lisa tried again. "Are you excited to be here?" Caravel stopped walking and turned to look at Lisa with a puzzled expression. "Excited? I do not understand this word in this context. I am here to complete a task that will benefit my people." There is no emotional response required. They reached the dining hall where the human crew had gathered to meet their visitors. Lisa watched as Caravel observed everything around her. The alien seemed to study each human face and the way they stood and moved. When crew member Ben Parker laughed at something his girlfriend Kelly Watson whispered to him, Caravel turned her head sharply toward the sound during the meal. Lisa noticed that Caravel barely touched her food. Instead, she watched the humans eat and talk. When Communications Officer Nina Rodriguez reached across the table to wipe a spot of sauce from her boyfriend, Chris Taylor Chin Caravel's eyes followed the movement. The alien seemed fascinated by this simple act of care between the 2 humans. Jake Morrison kissed his wife Amy on the cheek when she brought him a second cup of coffee. The kiss lasted only a moment, but Lisa saw Caravel's entire body become very still. The alien stared at the couple with an intensity that made Lisa feel uncomfortable. She had never seen anyone watch other people with such focus. After the meal, Jake Morrison showed the aliens to their guest quarters. Lisa offered to give Caravel a tour of the science labs, but the alien said she wanted to observe more human social interactions first. She asked if she could spend time in the common areas where crew members relaxed when they were not working. Lisa agreed and led Caravel to the recreation room where several crew members were watching movies and playing Games. The alien chose a seat in the corner where she could see everyone. She sat perfectly still and watched as humans laughed together, shared snacks, and touched each other in casual, friendly ways. Engineer Ryan Brooks put his arm around Counselor Megan Foster while they watched a comedy film. Kiravel leaned forward in her chair as if she needed to see this better. When the couple laughed at the same joke and looked into each other's eyes, Kiravel blue skin seemed to become a slightly darker shade. Lisa had studied alien biology, and she knew that Zephyrian skin color changed with their internal body temperature. She wondered why Kiravel was having a physical reaction to watching humans interact. According to all the research, Zephyrians did not experience emotional responses to social situations. Later that evening, Lisa was walking back to her quarters when she saw Kiravel standing in a hallway watching Jake and Amy Morrison say goodnight to each other. The couple shared a longer kiss before going into their room. Kiravel remained in the hallway for several minutes after they disappeared. Staring at the closed door, Lisa approached the alien quietly. "Is everything all right, Ambassador?" Kiravel turned quickly as if she had been caught doing something wrong. "I am conducting observational research on human bonding behaviors. Your species displays physical affection much more frequently than any reports indicated. Yes, we do tend to be affectionate with people we care about." "Is this strange to you?" Kiravel was quiet for a long moment. Her dark blue eyes seemed to be looking at something far away. "My people do not engage in such behaviors. We choose life partners based on genetic compatibility and intellectual matching. Physical contact serves only reproductive purposes and occurs at designated times." Lisa felt sad hearing this. "That sounds very lonely." "Lonely," Kiravel repeated the word slowly. "Another term I do not fully understand. But when I observe your people, I experience sensations that have no name in my language." Lisa looked at the alien more carefully. There was something different in Kiravel's voice now, something that had not been there during the formal dinner. It sounded almost like curiosity mixed with longing, though Lisa was not sure if Zephyrians could feel such things. "What kind of sensations?" Kiravel hesitated before answering. "When I watch humans touch each other with care, my skin temperature increases, my heart rate changes. I find myself wanting to continue observing these interactions. This is not normal. For my people," Lisa realized she might be witnessing something unprecedented. Perhaps exposure to human behavior was affecting the alien in ways that had never happened before. She decided to keep watching Kiravel carefully to see what would happen next. 3 days had passed since the Zephyrians arrived, and Kiravel had not returned to her ship as planned. She told Captain Morrison that she needed more time to complete her cultural research. Lisa noticed that the alien ambassador spent most of her time watching the human crew members instead of discussing trade agreements or diplomatic matters. Kiravel had started following couples around the ship. She would position herself where she could observe Ben Parker and Kelly Watson during their work shifts. The alien would sit in the engineering section pretending to study technical manuals, while secretly watching how the two humans interacted. When Ben would brush Kelly's hair away from her face, or when Kelly would squeeze Ben's hand before they separated to work on different tasks, Kiravel would lean forward and stare with complete attention. Lisa found this behavior concerning but also fascinating from a scientific point of view. She had never heard of any alien species becoming so interested in human romantic behavior. She decided to approach Kiravel directly to understand what was happening. She found the alien in the ship cafeteria sitting at a table where she could watch the entire room. Chris Taylor and Nina Rodriguez were eating lunch together at a nearby table. They were sharing food from each other's plates and talking quietly while looking into each other's eyes. Kiravel was taking notes on a small device while observing them. Lisa sat down across from Kiravel. "May I ask what you are documenting?" Kiravel did not look away from the couple. "I am recording the frequency of physical contact between bonded humans. In the past hour, Chris has touched Nina's arm 17 times. Nina has touched Chris' hand 12 times. They have made eye contact for a total of 43 minutes while speaking." Lisa was surprised by the detailed nature of these observations. "Why are you tracking these interactions so precisely?" "Because they are unlike anything in Zephyrian culture." Caravel finally looked at Lisa and her dark blue eyes seemed more intense than before. Your species engages in constant physical and emotional bonding throughout your adult lives. My people bond once every 7 years for reproductive purposes only. The rest of the time we maintain appropriate distance from others, Lisa watched. As Chris leaned over to kiss Nina's cheek before getting up to return to work, Caravel's entire body tensed as she watched this simple gesture. The alien skin had turned a deeper shade of blue, and Lisa could see that her hands were gripping her note-taking device very tightly. "Are you feeling all right, Ambassador?" Caravel took a deep breath before answering. "I am experiencing physiological responses that I cannot explain. When I observe human bonding behaviors, my body temperature rises, my heart rate increases. I feel a strange sensation in my chest that makes me want to continue watching." I have never felt anything like this before, Lisa realized she was witnessing something unprecedented. "Have you told your research team about these reactions?" "No, they would consider such responses to be signs of mental illness. In Zephyrian culture, emotional reactions to observing others are considered abnormal. We are taught to maintain logical objectivity at all times." Lisa looked around the cafeteria and saw Ryan Brooks and Megan Foster sharing a dessert. They were feeding each other small bites and laughing. Caravel immediately turned her attention to them and began taking more notes. The alien was so focused on watching the couple that she seemed to forget Lisa was there. Over the following days, Lisa noticed that Caravel's behavior became more intense. The alien had started asking the crew members personal questions about their relationships. She wanted to know how often they kissed their partners, how long they spent together each day, and what physical contact meant to them. Most of the crew found these questions odd, but they tried to be helpful since Caravel was their guest. Lisa overheard Caravel talking to Kelly Watson in the ship laboratory. "How many times per day does Ben touch you in a non-work-related manner, Kelly?" Looked confused. "I don't really count. He touches my hand or gives me a hug or kiss whenever he feels like it." "Why do you want to know?" "I'm trying to understand the purpose of frequent physical contact between humans. Does it serve a biological function beyond reproduction?" Kelly smiled. "It makes me feel happy and loved. When Ben touches me, it reminds me that we care about each other." "It feels good, Caravel repeated slowly. "You experience positive physical sensations from non-reproductive touching, of course. Don't your people touch each other to show affection?" Caravel shook her head. "We do not. Physical contact is reserved for reproduction and medical necessity only. Emotional displays are considered inefficient and potentially harmful to logical decision making." Lisa saw Kelly's face change to an expression of sympathy. "That sounds really sad." "How do you show people you care about them?" "We express appreciation through logical statements and efficient cooperation in work tasks," Caravel answered. But her voice sounded less certain than usual. That evening, Lisa was reviewing research data in her quarters when she heard voices in the corridor outside. She looked through her door window and saw Caravel standing near Jake and Amy Morrison's room. The alien was positioned where she could watch through the slightly open door as the married couple got ready for bed. Lisa felt uncomfortable seeing this invasion of privacy. She went into the corridor and approached Caravel. "Ambassador, what are you doing?" Caravel turned quickly, and her skin had darkened to an almost purple shade of blue. "I am observing human bonding behaviors in their natural environment. The couple is engaging in pre-sleep physical contact that appears to serve no reproductive purpose." Lisa looked toward the Morrison room and saw Jake and Amy giving each other a good-night kiss. It was a normal, intimate moment between a married couple, but Caravel was watching it with an intensity that made Lisa worried. "You cannot spy on people in their private moments," Lisa said firmly. "That is not appropriate behavior." Caravel seemed surprised by Lisa's tone. "I am conducting scientific research. These observations are necessary for my understanding of human culture. There are boundaries that must be respected. You cannot watch people's intimate moments without their permission." For the first time since arriving, Caravel showed what looked like emotional distress. "But I need to understand. When I watch humans show affection, I feel something I have never experienced before." It is like a hunger that grows stronger each time I observe these interactions. I cannot focus on anything else. Lisa felt alarmed by these words. You said it feels like hunger. Yes, like when a body needs food, but this hunger is in my mind and emotions. Watching human couples makes me feel alive in a way I never knew was possible. I think about it when I am not observing. I seek out opportunities to witness more interactions. I believe I am becoming dependent on these observations. Lisa realized that Caravel was not just conducting research anymore. The alien had become addicted to watching human romantic behavior. This was dangerous territory that could cause serious problems for both species. Ambassador, I think we need to talk to the medical team about what you are experiencing. Caravel grabbed Lisa's arm in a gesture that was completely unlike Zephyrian behavior. No, if you tell others, they will make me return to my ship. They will. End my research. I cannot leave now. I need to understand what this feeling means. Lisa looked down at Caravel's hand on her arm. The alien was touching her voluntarily, something that Zephyrians supposedly never did. She could see that whatever was happening to Caravel was changing her in fundamental ways. I will help you understand, Lisa said carefully. But you must agree to respect human privacy. No more watching people without their knowledge. Caravel released Lisa's arm and nodded. I agree, but please help me comprehend what is happening to me. I feel as though I am discovering something my people have lost or never had. These human bonding behaviors are like a key that is unlocking parts of my mind that have been closed my entire life. A week had passed since Lisa discovered Caravel watching the Morrison couple, and things had gotten much worse. The alien ambassador was no longer trying to hide her obsession with human romantic behavior. She spent every waking moment seeking out couples to observe, and her physical appearance had changed dramatically. Her once perfect blue skin now shifted colors constantly, and her hands trembled when she could not find humans to watch. Lisa met with Dr. Paul Stevens, the ship's psychologist, to discuss the situation. They sat in his office while watching security footage that showed Caravel following Ben Parker and Kelly Watson through the ship corridors. The alien stayed exactly 20 feet behind them and took detailed notes every time they held hands or spoke to each other. This behavior is escalating beyond normal scientific curiosity, Dr. Stevens said while reviewing his observations. Caravel is showing classic signs of behavioral addiction. She has developed a compulsive need to witness human romantic interactions, and she cannot control her urges to seek them out. Lisa watched the screen as Caravel positioned herself behind a wall to secretly observe Chris Taylor giving Nina Rodriguez a surprise hug. The alien leaned forward with intense concentration, and her skin turned a deep purple color that Lisa had never seen before. What concerns me most is how this is affecting her physically, Lisa said. Zephyrians are supposed to have complete control over their emotional and physical responses. Whatever is happening to Caravel goes against everything we know about her species. The door to Dr. Stevens' office opened, and Caravel walked in without knocking. She looked around the room quickly as if searching for something, then focused on Dr. Stevens and Lisa. I need to ask you both questions about human bonding behaviors, she said in a voice that sounded strained. I have been observing Ryan Brooks and Megan Foster for 3 days, but I do not understand the purpose of their morning greeting ritual. They embrace for exactly 47 seconds each day and exchange words that seem to have no practical meaning. Dr. Stevens and Lisa exchanged concerned looks. Ambassador, why don't you sit down and we can talk about what you have been experiencing? Caravel sat on the edge of the chair and continued talking rapidly. I have documented 17 different types of physical contact between human couples. Some appear to be functional while others serve no logical purpose. When I witness these interactions, I experience sensations that I cannot describe in my language. My body temperature rises, my heart rate increases to dangerous levels. I feel what humans might call excitement mixed with desperation. Desperation, Dr. Stevens leaned forward with interest. Can you describe that feeling more specifically? Caravel's hands were shaking as she spoke. When I cannot observe human couples, I feel incomplete. I think about their interactions constantly. I create mental images of affectionate behaviors. I have witnessed and replay them repeatedly in my mind. I have started positioning myself in locations where I am most likely to encounter bonded humans. Lisa felt deeply concerned. Ambassador, when was the last time you ate or slept? Sleep serves no purpose when I could be observing instead, Kiravel answered quickly. I have reduced my rest period to 2 hours per day so I can spend more time watching humans. Food also seems less important than before. Dr. Stevens made notes while speaking gently to Kiravel. What you are describing sounds like an addiction. Your brain has started producing reward chemicals when you observe human romantic behavior. And now you need these observations to feel normal. Kiravel stared at him with wide eyes. Addiction is a human concept. My people do not experience such responses to external stimuli. Perhaps your people have never been exposed to the right stimuli before, Lisa suggested. What if Zephyrians have the capacity for these feelings, but your culture suppressed them long ago? Before Kiravel could answer, the door opened again and her research assistant, Velnara, entered the room. The other Zephyrian looked at Kiravel with obvious disapproval. Ambassador, you have missed 3 scheduled communications with the High Council. Your behavior is causing concern among our people. Velnara spoke in their musical language but with a harsh tone that sounded like criticism. Kiravel responded in the same language but with obvious distress. Lisa could not understand the words, but she could hear the emotional content in Kiravel's voice. The 2 aliens argued for several minutes before Velnara left the room, shaking her head. What did she say? Dr. Stevens asked. Kiravel looked defeated. She said that I am showing signs of mental contamination from exposure to human behavior. The High Council wants me to return to our ship immediately for psychological evaluation. They believe that human emotional expressions are infectious and dangerous to our species. Lisa felt anger rise in her chest. There is nothing wrong with you. You are just experiencing emotions and physical responses that your people have forgotten how to feel, but I cannot control these responses. Kiravel's voice broke as she spoke. Yesterday I followed Jake and Amy Morrison to their quarters and listened outside their door for 2 hours. I knew this was inappropriate behavior, but I could not make myself leave. I needed to hear their voices and their expressions of affection. Dr. Stevens reached out slowly and placed his hand on Kiravel's arm. She did not pull away, which would have been normal Zephyrian behavior. Instead, she stared at his hand with fascination. How does that feel? He asked gently. Warm, comforting, like the sensation I experience when observing human couples, but directed at me personally. Kiravel's voice was filled with wonder. Is this what humans call caring? Lisa watched as Dr. Stevens maintained the gentle contact. Yes. This is how humans show care and support for others. We use touch to communicate emotions that words cannot express. Tears formed in Kiravel's dark blue eyes. Lisa had never heard of Zephyrians crying before. My people have lost something important. We chose logic over feeling so long ago that we forgot feelings existed. Watching humans has awakened something in me that should have been there all along. The communication system in Dr. Stevens' office activated and Captain Morrison's voice filled the room. Dr. Carter and Dr. Stevens, please report to the bridge immediately. We have received an urgent message from the Zephyrian High Council. Lisa felt dread in her stomach. What do you think they want? Kiravel stood up quickly and her skin had turned pale. They want me to return home. They believe I am sick and that human behavior is spreading this sickness to other Zephyrians. Are other Zephyrians showing similar responses? Dr. Stevens asked. Kiravel nodded slowly. I have been sending reports about human bonding behaviors to our Cultural Research Center. Other scientists have begun requesting more detailed information. Some have started expressing curiosity about experiencing these interactions themselves. The High Council considers this a dangerous development. Lisa realized the situation had become much bigger than one alien studying human behavior. If Zephyrian society viewed emotions and physical affection as contamination, then Kiravel's awakening could cause serious problems between their species. We need to go to the bridge, Lisa said. But first I want you to know that there is nothing wrong with what you are feeling. You are not sick or contaminated. You're becoming more complete as a person. Kiravel looked at Lisa with gratitude. Thank you for understanding. I know I cannot return to my old life after experiencing these new sensations. But I'm afraid of what my people will do to make me forget as they walk toward the bridge. Lisa wondered if they were about to witness the end of peaceful contact between humans and Zephyrians. Kiravel's addiction to observing human love might have started a cultural conflict that could affect both species for generations to come. The bridge was filled with tension when Lisa and Dr. Stevens arrived with Kiravel. Captain Morrison stood in front of the main view screen where a stern-looking Zephyrian official appeared in holographic form. The alien on screen had the same pale blue skin as Kiravel, but his expression was cold and disapproving. I am High Counselor Zekvarn of the Zephyrian Council of Logic. The official spoke with authority that made everyone on the bridge stand straighter. We have received disturbing reports about Ambassador Kiravel's behavior during her stay on your vessel. Captain Morrison looked uncomfortable. High Counselor, we have tried to accommodate your ambassador needs for cultural research. Cultural research, Zekvarn's voice became harsh. Our ambassador has become obsessed with your species' primitive bonding behaviors. She has neglected her official duties and is showing signs of severe psychological contamination. We demand her immediate return for treatment. Kiravel stepped forward and her voice shook as she spoke. High Counselor, I request permission to continue my research. I have discovered something important about our people that the Council needs to understand. You have discovered nothing except how to become mentally unstable. Zekvarn stared at Kiravel with disgust. Your reports about human mating behaviors have begun affecting other Zephyrians. 3 of our scientists have requested permission to observe humans directly after reading your contaminated research. This dangerous thinking must be stopped. Lisa felt anger building in her chest. There is nothing contaminated about Ambassador Kiravel's research. She is simply learning to experience emotions that your people have suppressed. Zekvarn turned his attention to Lisa and his eyes showed complete contempt. Human emotions are primitive responses that prevent logical thinking. Your species relies on these feelings because you lack the intelligence to make decisions based on pure reason. We evolved beyond such weaknesses thousands of years ago, Doctor. Stevens stepped closer to the view screen. High Counselor, what if those emotions are not weaknesses, but strengths? What if your people gave up something valuable when you chose logic over feeling impossible? Zekvarn's voice became louder. Emotional responses lead to poor decisions, violence, and social chaos. Human history proves this with your wars and conflicts. Caused by irrational feelings, Kiravel moved between the view screen and the human crew members. High Counselor, you are wrong. I have observed human bonding behaviors for weeks, and I have seen how their emotions make them stronger, not weaker. They support each other through difficulties. They find joy in simple interactions. They create connections that give their lives meaning beyond mere survival. You have been corrupted by extended exposure to their inferior mindset, Zekvarn declared. You will return to our ship immediately for psychological rehabilitation. We will remove these contaminated thoughts from your mind and restore your proper Zephyrian objectivity. The words psychological rehabilitation made Lisa feel sick. You cannot force someone to give up their feelings. That is not treatment, it is brain damage. Captain Morrison stepped forward with his command voice. High Counselor, I cannot allow you to harm someone on my ship. Ambassador Kiravel is under our protection while she remains here. Then you are interfering with Zephyrian internal affairs. Zekvarn's eyes narrowed dangerously. We will consider this an act of hostility. Our battle fleet is prepared to retrieve our ambassador by force if necessary. The bridge crew exchanged worried looks. Lisa knew that Zephyrian ships were much more advanced than human vessels. If they decided to attack the Endeavor, would have little chance of survival. Kiravel's skin had turned almost black with distress. Please do not fight because of me. I will return to our ship if it will prevent violence. No, Lisa said firmly. You should not have to give up your newfound feelings just because your people are afraid of change. The communication ended abruptly as Zekvarn cut the connection. Captain Morrison immediately turned to his crew and began giving orders for defensive preparations. The ship went to alert status as everyone prepared for a possible attack. Lisa found Kiravel in her quarters an hour later. The alien was sitting on her bed holding a small device that showed images of the human couples she had been observing. Her skin kept shifting between different shades of blue as she looked at pictures of Ben and Kelly holding hands, Chris and Nina laughing together, and Jake and Amy sharing a kiss. "I cannot give this up," Kiravel said without looking away from the device. "These past weeks have shown me what life could be like if my people allowed themselves to feel. I have experienced joy, wonder, and something I think humans call love just from watching others express these emotions." Lisa sat beside her on the bed. "What do you mean by love?" Kiravel turned to look at Lisa and her eyes were filled with tears. "Again, I think I have fallen in love with the concept of love itself. Not with any specific person, but with the idea that beings can care for each other so deeply that they want to share their lives completely. My people mate for genetic compatibility, but humans bond for emotional connection. You choose partners who make you happy, not just partners who will produce optimal offspring. That is what makes us human," Lisa agreed. "Our emotions guide us toward relationships that fulfill us emotionally, not just biologically." Suddenly alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system announcing that 3 Zephyrian ships had appeared and were demanding Kiravel immediate surrender. Kiravel stood up quickly. "I must go to them. I cannot let innocent humans die because of my personal transformation." "Wait," Lisa grabbed her arm. "What if there was another way? What if we could prove to your people that emotions make Zephyrians stronger, not weaker?" "How could we prove such a thing?" Lisa thought quickly. "You said other Zephyrians have become curious about human behavior after reading your reports. What if some of them are ready to experience emotions for themselves? What if you are not the only one who feels incomplete in a purely logical society?" Kiravel considered this idea. "You think there might be others like me among my people? There is only one way to find out," Lisa said. "We need to contact those scientists who requested more information about humans. We need to ask them directly if they want to experience emotions or if they are satisfied with pure logic." Captain Morrison's voice interrupted their conversation. "Dr. Carter, report to the bridge immediately. The Zephyrians are demanding to speak with you." Lisa and Kiravel hurried to the bridge where they found the view screen showing High Counselor Zekvarn again. This time he looked even more angry than before. "Dr. Carter, you have exactly 1 hour to surrender our ambassador. If you refuse, we will disable your ship and take her by force. Your primitive human vessel cannot withstand our weapons." Lisa stepped forward with determination. "High Counselor, I challenge your assumption that emotions make beings weaker. I request permission to speak directly with the Zephyrian scientists who have expressed interest in human behavior. Let them decide for themselves whether they want to experience emotions or remain purely logical." Zekvarn looked surprised by this request. "You want to contaminate more of our people with your emotional weakness. I want to give them a choice," Lisa answered. "If your way of life is truly superior, then they will choose logic over emotion when given the opportunity. But if some of them feel incomplete like Kiravel did, then they should have the right to explore their emotional potential." The High Counselor was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke with reluctant agreement. "You have 1 hour to present your case to our research council. If even one scientist chooses to remain logical after hearing your arguments, we will consider this proof that emotions are contamination and we will take Kiravel for treatment." Lisa felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The future relationship between humans and Zephyrians might depend on her ability to convince a group of logical aliens that feelings were worth having. Lisa stood in the ship communication room facing a view screen that showed 12 Zephyrian scientists. Their pale blue faces looked at her with curiosity mixed with caution. Kiravel stood beside her while Captain Morrison, Dr. Stevens, and several crew members watched from the background. The future of human-Zephyrian relations depended on what happened in the next hour. "Fellow scientists," Lisa began carefully. "I am Dr. Lisa Carter and I study how different species think and feel. Today I want to share with you what we have learned about Ambassador Caravel transformation and what it might mean for your people. One of the scientists on screen leaned forward. I am Research Director Velcara. We have read Caravel reports about human bonding behaviors with great interest. Her descriptions of emotional responses are unlike anything in our scientific literature. Lisa nodded. That is because your people evolved away from emotions long ago. But evolution does not always move in the right direction. Sometimes species lose important abilities that they later need to survive and thrive. High Counselor Zekvarn appeared on a smaller screen beside the scientists. Dr. Carter, you have 47 minutes remaining. Please present your evidence that emotions are beneficial rather than harmful. Lisa turned to Caravel. Ambassador, would you please tell your fellow scientists what you have experienced during your time observing humans? Caravel stepped closer to the view screen and her voice was steady despite her obvious nervousness. Fellow Zephyrians, I have discovered that we have been living as incomplete beings. When I first watched humans express affection, I felt sensations I had no words for. My body responded with increased temperature and heart rate. I thought I was becoming sick. Research Director Velcara interrupted. Those are exactly the symptoms of psychological contamination that the High Council warned us about. No, Caravel's voice became stronger. Those were symptoms of awakening. For the first time in my life, I felt truly alive. I experienced joy when